We have another Game 7 back heading to OKC. What do you expect there?
I think that Denver has been the better team. I understand that, Oklahoma City won 68 games during the regular season. It's an outstanding team, but Nikola Jokic has been terrific. And if you look at Game 5, Denver had that game. Jokic was 4 of 6 in the fourth quarter. The rest of his teammates were 1 for 15. And there was that stretch where no one could make a shot, where if someone could have made a shot, I think they would have won the game. If they could have held the lead at 7, even with about 3 minutes to go, I think they were going to win. Last night, the kid Julian Strawther, he came in and he made a shot. So as long as, Jamal Murray could play the way that he did, Christian Brown had a career playoff high. I'm not expecting that to happen again. But at some point, Jokic needs a little help in the fourth quarter. I think Denver's the better team. I always go with the better team in a Game 7. I don't care where the game is being played. So I'm going to pick Denver in Game 7.
Yeah, and Strawther, he just kept hitting him during that 10-0 run. I think he had 15 points in the,
Yes, he did.
In the second half, was it?
Yep.
He played incredibly, and we saw a lot of their secondary players step up, where it didn't just have to be the Jokic experience there. And if that's the way it's going to be rolling in, then that looks like a really great game ahead for them.
Yeah, and you're right too about every time during the playoffs if you're going to win a championship, there are games when other guys have to do something, and for Oklahoma City in Game 5, it was Lou Dort. He hit those 3 threes in about a 2-minute span in the fourth quarter when no one could score. So that kind of was Lou Dort bailing them out. And I think last night in Game 6, it was Julian Strawther. He was the one bailing out the Denver Nuggets. The kid that went to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's produced, I think they have 15 players in the NBA. And he actually played 1 year with Chet Holmgren. So he's played in a big program before. He came in only scoring 24 total points in his playoff career. And last night, like you said, he puts up 15 in that second half. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Jamal Murray, of course, Sarah's theory is he wasn't sick, he was perfectly fine. Is that right? Is that your theory?
I absolutely think that.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? You know how it is. When we all show up for work, we then say, well, I was really sick. I wasn't feeling well, but I showed up. How is it? Look at the alternative, Suzy. What was he not going to do? Play? Yeah. If he doesn't play and they lose, everyone would say, how do you not play in the game?
Oh my God,
you got
the
next 6 months to basically get better. You got to play in the game. So it always makes for a good storyline. And you know this. Michael Jordan was the best at it. And I'm not saying he wasn't sick, but in Utah, he was sick. His last ever All-Star game in a Bulls uniform was in New York City at Madison Square Garden. He didn't show up at the practice. The big thing was that he was sick. He was sick. You knew he was going to show up and play well. So I think Jamal Murray knows how to build a pretty good story that we in the media are going to eat up, and he certainly did it last night.
I would rather my coworkers not come to work when they're sick. I'm just a little, maybe a different take than everyone else.
Wait a second.
I'm sick, I don't go to work.
If you're down 3-2 in a series, you're going to want them to show up.
Yeah,
if it's a Monday in January.
By the way,
it's a Monday in January, stay home. That's what you're right about that.
And so many elimination games that Murray has powered them through. So they needed that little bit of the extra magic. And by the way, you mentioned that Michael game, because the difference is this. Michael was green. You remember watching that game? He was green.
Yeah.
He was throwing up in buckets on the side. It was disgusting. I remember watching that. And I looked, so when Murray comes out, I'm like, he looks fine.
Yeah.
Now that I have kids, I'm like, you're fine. Get out there.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to be at that game, and that was the great thing about Michael Jordan, because he was always going to be the story. If he played well, which was about 90% of the time, he was a story. And then if you were there on a night where he didn't play well, that was also the story. But that was even as you were covering him during that time, you knew you were covering essentially the modern day Babe Ruth. You knew it was a big deal. And Michael Jordan, what I loved about the guy, he just rose to the occasion every game. And that's what you see in the playoffs. That's why, everyone talks about depth, and, certainly it helps to have a lot of good players. But ultimately, you need your best players, your star players, to play at a different level in these big moments. And that's why for the Knicks, I'm sure they're hoping to see that from Jalen Brunson. And for the Boston Celtics, they're going to need that kind of performance out of Jaylen Brown.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.